bell tolls. The midnight hour is upon us. It's time once again for two internet strangers to discuss the good and evil of the horror genre. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the terror within the Hallow-Holics Anonymous podcast.
Sorry I'm late.
You're good. We hardly know each other.
We have a podcast together.
Life is just one big trip. You know what I mean? I was driving down the street this afternoon thinking about that. And I couldn't honestly come up with a good reason to be here.
Great start to the show, Corey. Very upbeat.
You know, I'm a doctor.
Really?
No, start the podcast. I'm going to get some more coffee and bitter life experience.
Hi, I'm Maddy.
And I'm Corey.
And this is
Hallow-Holics Anonymous, a show dedicated to all things horror, and occasionally Halloween.
Real quick sidebar here. Did you like that script?
I did. I forgot all about coffee and cigarettes until I, remembered it halfway through Only Lovers Left Alive. He must have filmed a bunch of that stuff way back and then just cut it together and that come out in 2008 or something?
Coffee and Cigarettes was the 90s.
Oh, was it really? I thought
it was early 90s. Yeah. Hold
on.
I
think IMDb lied to me then.
No, it was a very long project. Yeah, it did take course over it was filmed over the course of several years, but
yeah,
it was released in 2004 apparently, but gosh, I feel like I've seen it before that. But yeah, no, it was.
I think he released bits and pieces of it before.
Yes, okay.
That Tom Waits one was floating around. I think the Jeffrey Wright one. No, not Jeffrey Wright.
3 short films.
What?
It's 3 short films.
Yeah. And then you must have filmed the rest and cut them all in.
Yeah. Okay. So, the original Strange to Meet You was 86. That's one with Roberto Benigni and Stephen Wright. Twins was 89. Somewhere in California was 93. So it was throughout the 80s and 90s. Yeah, I was right about that.
Have you seen? Wow, we're actually both right about something at the same time. You're actually not proving me wrong totally. Yeah. I'm happy about this. This all reminded me of another movie. Up until yesterday, I thought that the movie Smoke was a Jim Jaramusch movie. Have you ever seen it?
I'm not sure.
It stars Harvey Keitel. Most of it takes place in a smoke shop in, I think, New York. It's some sort of city. But it's just this character piece. And I think that's why I thought it was a Jarmusch movie. I don't even remember who's in it now, but a whole bunch of, really good people. I'm going to look it up real quick because you should see it.
Real quick, guys, because I realized we just got so excited about talking that we forgot to actually follow our own format. The theme this episode is Jim Jaramusch.
Oh, yeah. I was actually so excited. I forgot that we were, you guys were listening to this part.
Yeah. Oh, it's also apparently, I guess, a tribute to Iggy Pop, Tilda Swinton, and Tom Waits because
they all died tragically today.
Wait, what?
No, I'm just kidding. But why would they all die at the same time?
Maybe not Iggy Pop, because he wasn't in Only Lovers Left Alive, as far as I remember. But the other two were... No, Tom Waits wasn't either. Well, no. Tilda Swinton was in both of them. Mm-hmm. I was thinking of Coffee and Cigarettes.
Okay, why was I looking up Smoke to tell you about it? Oh, tell you who's in it. So the dude whose name I can't pronounce that plays the bad guy in that one season of... That's not specific at all. Let me try this. Giancarlo Esposito. I got his last name right. He's the bad guy in that season of Breaking Bad. Mm-hmm. The one who gets blown up. He's in it. Oh,
yeah, where the king is dead on that ad. I never actually watched the show.
Oh, okay, never mind then.
Well, no, but he straightened his suit, walked out, and
Yeah, and then half his head missing. Yeah. So yeah, Harvey Keitel, William Hurt, Forrest Whitaker, Stockard Channing.
So a solid character actor cast.
Yeah.
That would really be why it reminded you.
Yeah, exactly. But for 95, 2005, 2015, so about 24, 25 years, I thought it was a Jim Jarmusch movie until I looked it up.
Well, I gotta say, this is going to be anti and pro pretentious, this little, thing I'm about to say right now, but, I mean, because Jim's, I'm not gonna say his full name, I'm just gonna say Jim, because if we keep doing Jim Jaramusch, it's gonna turn into a tongue twister. But Jim's films are, simultaneously casual and relatable, and yet also elevated above a lot of films that
even when he's writing a movie about a modern day samurai assassin in New York, it's all still grounded and relatable.
He reminds me of, in some ways he reminds me of Kurosawa. In other ways he reminds me of Bergman. He's just one of those rare directors who comes along and everything they touch is beautiful.
That was maybe, in many ways, he reminds me of Kurosawa. Might be the most pretentious sentence you have ever uttered on this podcast.
You're an asshole. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong at all, but it was the best sentence ever, and I had to point it out.
I didn't do a Kermit voice.
Well, that's one of my many pretentious voices.
I love that he also uses a lot of singers in these movies, and yet nobody sings.
Yeah. I'm also very surprised at the, Iggy Pop's not an actor.
No.
You know what I mean? He was terrible in the Crow sequel, but there's just something about the way he directs that, points everybody in the right direction, and and he just gets the exact performance he needs out of everyone.
That's what a good director does.
Yeah, but nobody hits it as often as he. He's never made a bad movie. It's just everything he's done has been engaging from beginning to end. I've never seen anybody's performance I didn't like in one of his movies. It's just amazing. When
I was a kid, Dead Man with Johnny Depp was one of the first Westerns that made me love Westerns.
Yeah, it might have been mine too.
And that one's brilliant too. Guys, just watch all of his films. For the sake of the theme of our series, though, rather than talk about every single one of his movies, we picked 2 of his horror films that actually, one of them came out this year, and the other wasn't too long ago. The Dead Don't Die and Only Lovers Left Alive.
Only Lovers Left Alive, I waited for from the moment I heard it was coming out to the moment it was released. I didn't see it in theaters because he never comes to a small town theater. But yeah, I don't even know. I can't call either of these movies horror movies. I think that The Dead Don't Die gets closer, but Only Lovers Left Alive is more about, it's a love story and this sort of tragic tale. Cause I think that, no, we should wait.
I'd rather call them horror than elevated melodrama, which they kind of are.
Well, I would call Only Lovers Left Alive a love story.
Oh yeah, but in some ways, The Dead Don't Die is a love story.
I guess Tilda really did love her job.
And also, Adam Driver he loved that song.
And not Martha Plimpton. I always forget her name. Chloe Savini. I don't know why Chloe Savini and Martha Plimpton live in the same part of my brain for some reason. I don't know why, because they're both very different.
We can't just go into the movies now. We've got a structure. We've got to move on to horror news.
I should probably read about that then.
I've never been this excited about an episode.
I know. This was great. I didn't read this at all.
Oh my gosh. Really?
I've been trying. Yeah, I've been trying.
Okay, do you want me to give you a little bit of time and do the horror history first?
Well, because then I won't be able to pay attention to you while you're doing that.
Do you ever pay attention to me?
I try to. It's easier to make fun of you when I pay attention to you.
All right, get that horror news out then, my friend.
Just give me a second. Okay, so apparently Wes Craven's estate, this is according to bloodydisgusting.com, Wes Craven's estate is taking pitches on new Nightmare on Elm Streets.
Mm-hmm.
And that was horror news.
Well, there's more to it than that. It's not as complicated as the Friday the 13th. It's not as complicated as so many other horror films that have been remade or get sequels that are promised, because the rights are explicitly, they all go back to Craven's estate. They're not split up. There aren't different writers
They
for the...
Yeah, they didn't bounce around like Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, all that stuff. Well, did check Evil Dead? Evil Dead was all over the place. They can't. The reason Evil Dead, the reason they redid Ash's Hand in the series was because they didn't have the rights to anything that happened in Army of Darkness.
I didn't know that. But yeah, maybe either Wes Craven was just pretty good at business, had foresight, or nobody wanted to screw him over.
I think he was probably, I think he just wanted to keep his movies. I think he had the foresight.
I wish I could say one of his movies came out on November 21st, though.
Did one?
No.
Oh, shit. On this day in horror history.
Dude, November 21st was an amazing day for horror. The original Frankenstein was released. Diabolique, Westworld, Jack Frost 2, Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowman, my friends. Gothica, and The Mist, which is okay, but also Twilight, which kind of cancels out most of those movies because it's so terrible.
The Mist was pretty bad until the end, but like that completely brutal ending made that movie okay.
I hated that ending. Oh, that ending.
I thought it was great. Are you serious?
That ending pissed me off.
It was perfect.
Whatever. You are too much. But you know what's not too much?
Well, hold on. Do you know what premiered in 1977 on the 22nd of November?
Well, what did premiere, even though that's not on this day?
I premiered that day. Tomorrow's my birthday, Maddie.
Oh, well, happy early birthday, Mr. 44.
42. I had to do the math, though, because I forgot how old I was.
I was just throwing a number out there and hoping it stuck.
Okay. No, I seriously had to, like subtract 1977 from 2019 just to make sure I was 42.
Oh, my gosh. Time flies.
Yeah, it really does. And I think you just get to a point where you don't care about how old you are. It doesn't matter how old you are anymore. That's how
when you're a woman, it always matters.
Oh, okay. And that was on this day in horror history.
Now, I'd like to bring the mood down, guys. I'd like to play some good music. And I'd like to share with you... stop coughing! I'd like to...
I'm sorry.
Share with
I think I have a cold.
A little trailer.
In this peaceful town, on these quiet streets,
old-fashioned narration.
something terrifying.
This is the perfect trailer too, because I did not expect what I saw based on.
What the hell was it? A wild animal?
This is really awful. Maybe the worst thing I've ever seen.
What was it, wild animals?
So what do you think? I'm thinking zombies.
What?
I want to see these two in a movie again. They're perfect together.
Mm-hmm. They were really great. Just the whole sketch had delivered the entire movie.
You look gorgeous. Oh my. Are you in this together?
Flesh-eating zombies.
Don't joke. It's really, really creepy.
He was great.
Man,
they were all great.
This isn't going to end well. They gravitate towards things they did when they were alive.
Coffee.
Ah!
Did she just say Chardonnay? Yeah, she did.
2, 3, 4.
Caleb Landon Jones. I love that guy. I've not seen him in much.
Welcome to my world, zombies.
I've been telling you this is all going to end badly.
Well, that's unfortunate.
I'm quite confident of my ability to defend myself against the undead.
I can see that.
Excuse me. Those are some pretty good cuts. You played some minor league ball, didn't you?
Well, a little Class A. It was a long time ago.
Jim.
So I think before we start, we need to figure out how much we're going to tell, because we don't want to spoil these, right? Especially The Dead Don't Die, because it's like brand new.
Oh yeah, we do not want to spoil these. So I think we need to stop before the ending. Which, I mean, it's a zombie movie. There's two rules of zombie movies. It's either a happy ending or a depressing one. We're not going to tell you which one.
That's kind of all movies.
No, sometimes it's a boring ending.
Oh, okay, I'll give you that.
No, seriously, zombie movies are either one extreme or the other. They're never like just a normal casual ending.
Mm-hmm.
At any rate, you ever think to yourself when you're living in a small town, this place sure could use a little more shambling corpses? Well, look
every
no further.
day, actually.
Look no further. In a place that seems like it could be West Virginia, or maybe North Texas, or maybe East, possibly somewhere near Oklahoma, 3 cops are faced with one big problem. Namely, a theme song that never seems to end, and Tom Waits narrating bitterly about materialism. Ah well, at least it's not a musical. Somehow.
You're really, really bitter about the fact all these musicians don't sing in this, aren't you?
No, it's just, I think it's funny that all these musicians don't sing. I mean, you've got Selena Gomez, you've got Tom Waits, you got Iggy Pop, you got RZA or Urza. How do you say that?
RZA.
Okay, that makes sense. You've even got
you are so not hip.
And I'm sure there's more singers I don't know of in this, because I don't know all of them, and I'm looking at a cast list right now. But there's a lot of singers in this. A lot.
I'm double checking to make sure you got them all. Yeah, actually, I think you did.
Yeah, cool. I'm amazing. It's just, everything about this movie is so fantastic. And it has something you love, plenty of child death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like there's a whole section to dead kids shambling around later in the movie.
But I was thinking, this is a really good cast. This is like the who's who of character actors I love, right? Up until Larry Fessenden showed up, and I was like, this really is the best, living character actor cast. I completely
The next sentence I had in the chamber was talking about how Larry Fessenden was in this movie as well. You just barely beat me to it. Good work.
Oh, I love Larry Fessenden.
I do too.
Mm-hmm. And, oh man, these are my kind of zombies. These are Return of the Living Dead style zombies, except they don't really want brains. They want Chardonnay and video games and coffee and Wi-Fi and Bluetooth.
And that was really clever. He kind of did the same thing with Only Lovers Left Alive too, where this is a pretty scalding commentary on modern society and our reliance on these material things, you know?
You could say that all of his movies are scathing, analyses of society in some ways.
Oh, true.
Even Dead Man is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Poor guy.
I don't think he's probably as miserable as his movies make him seem. I think he's actually probably pretty content with his life. I mean, this dude's got to live his entire life hanging out with Neil Young, Iggy Pop, Tom Waits, not to mention all these actors. He has had a pretty kick-ass life, I think.
I was thinking more of the character in Dead Man, Johnny Depp's poor character, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. He has a little bit rough.
Mm-hmm. And you know what? Tom Waits could read a row of shampoo bottles for 2 hours and I'd still be entertained. I love his voice.
Yeah, I fell down a rabbit hole of watching old Tom Waits interviews this afternoon when I was supposed to be working on the movie or the show. And that led me to a whole bunch of Tom Waits songs and all of his Letterman appearances. He was on one of the last episodes of Letterman.
Oh, yeah?
With George Clooney. And apparently George Clooney had handcuffed himself to David. And it was just this really awkward, Tom and David were talking and George Clooney's just sitting on this stool. It was very strange. I think you should watch it at some point.
Might have to. Technically, you could argue that there was at least one song in here that one of the actors sang, because half of Tom Waits' songs are him just talking.
That's true. So maybe the whole movie could be
Yeah, maybe the movie is a musical. A Tom Waits musical.
We can't even really talk about, like, I mean, the theme song is great, and I love how often it comes up, but we can't really talk about why it comes up that often, because we don't want to get into, I can't even use the word without, like...
Well, can I say this?
So
First, they wink at the fourth wall and flirt with it. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say why or how. I'm just going to say they definitely wink at that fourth wall.
Yeah, I think that's okay.
Yeah. Everyone just seems like they had such a great time. It's not fair that this movie didn't get more attention than it did. It's like everyone wanted to see it for a week when it came out, and then suddenly nobody was talking about it.
That's what happened with me. I was so, like, every time I hear there's a new Jarmusch movie on the horizon, I get super excited. And then it comes out and somehow I either miss it or forget about it for like a year. And that's what happened with this. And I mean, the only reason that we remembered it at all was because I had put it in that folder and forgot about it.
Yeah, I was looking at your movie
you found it in
folder
there.
and I was like, when did you get The Dead Don't Die? And they were like, let's watch it. I'm glad we settled on that, because this was like, this has, I know this is probably a crime to say it, but I actually kind of liked this movie more than Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, I think I did too. And I really like Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, I love Shaun of the Dead. I love British humor, and I think it nails it perfectly. But this nails dry American humor in a way that no comedy seems to do today.
Yeah, and it takes small town attitude, speaking mainly of Stephen Buscemi's character, and like how racist he is, but how he still has to interact with Danny Glover's character, and it's I don't know, it's just so great. And Danny Glover's in this too. Like, ugh.
And the way they imply there's going to be that love interest, and then it doesn't. Oh, and like, oh gosh, when Tilda is talking to the female police officer asking about Adam Driver's character, it's like, is she hitting on her or not? Or is she like trying to see if the other guy's single? And the way that they play with that twist is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Can't reveal that twist.
Right. I think it would have been very, very hard for anybody else to pull off that sort of thing other than her.
And it's, you just accept it happening.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot more I can really say about this movie, except it's one of the best movies I've watched this year.
I agree, 100%. There's some interesting stuff in the trivia, though, that isn't spoilery.
Shoot, let's go for it.
All right, like apparently Iggy Pop asked Jim Jarmusch what the backstory for his zombie character was, and apparently him and his girlfriend were killed on his motorcycle in 1973 after leaving a Blue Oyster Cult concert. Iggy Pop actually played with them in 1973, which is pretty cool. They looked pretty good for being dead since 1973. Oh, this movie also, finally, we got another like straight out of the grave thing. Like these zombies came up from their graves. And I know that that's not like, yeah. I mean, I know that if the zombie apocalypse ever happened, like you've got corpses in a coffin that is locked, in a vault that is locked, buried 6 feet under the ground. So there's no way that could actually happen. But there's just something so great about like watching the hands come up from the earth. Like,
that's one of my favorite things about zombie movies, and that's one reason I don't like them anymore, is because you never see that. And if you're going to argue that it's not logical, then why don't we argue about the fact that if someone's dead, their muscles would immediately begin rotting. They wouldn't be able to shamble very long. I mean, it's impossible to bring back someone back from the dead. So how can you suspend your disbelief for the incredibly impossible thing for the mildly impossible thing?
No, that's how I feel too. Yeah. If you're gonna suspend your disbelief for one thing, you've got to suspend it for everything, or it just doesn't work.
Yeah. And also, like, I gotta say it, I love Adam Driver. I think he is super sexy. There, I said it.
He's a pretty dude. I agree.
And you know what? Bill Murray is charming.
He wears his pants a little high in The Last Jedi.
Well, he's got big boots
Adam
to
Driver
fill.
That's true, but you don't keep your boots in your pants.
Apparently he does.
Apparently. Oh, so the zombie that Adam Driver's character cuts the head off of from the car, that outfit was what Bill Murray wore, or a facsimile of what Bill Murray wore in Zombieland.
Oh.
It was pretty hilarious.
You know, I love, in the last couple of years, I was rewatching some really early Bill Murray comedies and like early SNL, and I really love how he came into his own towards the mid to late 80s as a good comedian, because he didn't start out as that. And I don't think there's any other actor I've seen who developed so much as an actor as Bill Murray. And this movie is a great example of it. His soft, dry humor, because usually he's a bit louder when he's being funny. It works so perfectly.
What would you say some of the bad stuff he did was? Do you have anything specific?
His early SNL. It was really bad. And also, I know it's a classic, but Meatballs is terrible. He's terrible in Meatballs, and Meatballs is a terrible movie. And I don't like him that much in Caddyshack.
You shut your mouth, Maddie. I love both of those. Well, you know what? No. Caddyshack is a little weird with me, because I had an old boss who was a big fan of Caddyshack, and every time I see, like, and he used to do like this kind of Bill Murray impersonation all the time. I don't even think he knew he was doing it. But
I think that's one thing that annoys me is it's an impersonation a lot of people have done. It's the obnoxious impersonation, just like the Wild and Crazy Guys. No one wants to hear you do the Wild and Crazy Guys act.
That's true. I mean, actually, nobody wants to hear you impersonate anybody that somebody else created. At least I don't. I hate it when I've known people whose total routine, like the only thing they ever did was quote Family Guy.
I hate that the most.
It was so irritating.
Oh my gosh, blank blank, like that time I blank blank blank. That is the entire script for every Family Guy episode. Yeah,
you're right. Apparently this movie was Tilda Swinton's idea.
You know, I can believe that because she is an ageless, beautiful... wait, let me repeat that. Beep that out. She is an ageless, beautiful goddess. I'm going to beep that out. I almost...
All right, yeah, make sure you do.
Spoiler there.
Yeah, like one of the main spoilers that just makes the movie insane. I respect the fact that Adam Driver drives a smart car in this.
That was fun. A convertible smart car. And someone was talking about buying a Prius. Interesting.
I bought one. I'm picking it up Wednesday. But yeah, I looked at smart cars briefly until I realized that, like, I would look ridiculous getting out of one of those. Plus, I can't sleep it, and that's going to be very important.
I would say there's like one last thing. Let me look up his name real quick. One last thing I'd like to point out, and this is an actor who it's probably the third thing I've seen him in, and I just want to see him in even more stuff because he's just good. Caleb Landry Jones, who played Bobby. I loved
the kid behind the counter.
Yes, I've loved all of his performances that I've seen. 3 Billboards and Get Out. And this one.
Oh, that's right. He was the brother in Get Out. I forgot about that.
So, like, just wildly different characters. He plays uncomfortable and creepy so well.
I gotta look something else up here because I just read that Bruce Campbell actually declined a role in this movie.
I can see him in it, but I'm kind of glad he didn't play it because his charisma and his performances. Bruce Campbell is always Bruce Campbell, and I love Bruce Campbell, but it would have changed what this movie was.
Yeah, I agree. Let me read this to you verbatim. This is directly from the IMDb trivia. Because I can't figure out who he was supposed to play. Maybe I can't read, but originally, Jim Jarmusch envisioned Bruce Campbell in the role of Mallory O'Brien, who declined the role after almost 40 years of being involved in makeup-heavy scary movies. It was then decided the character would be rewritten as a woman, and Jarmusch reached out to Carol Kane, who he'd worked with in The Soup, along with Steve Buscemi, who accepted the part. Oh, I get it now. So Bruce Campbell was supposed to be Steve Buscemi's character.
No, Mallory O'Brien, that's Carol Kane. She was the zombie that said, Chardonnay.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I don't know how I missed. I'm like looking at the paragraph right now. Yeah, never mind.
So that is kind of funny, imagining him going Chardonnay or something like that. But I think she was perfect.
This got a wide release. It was in 600 theaters.
Well, yeah, it was in the theaters here, but Texas is a big state, so.
Yeah, it didn't come anywhere near here.
And they just pulled no stops in killing characters you like. I won't say which characters, but they definitely killed at least one character you probably liked in this movie. which I was cool with. It made me sad, and that's what I want when I see a horror film. I want to be upset when a character dies.
They kept another pretty good piece of zombie lore and trivia in this one too.
What, the destroying the head?
Well, that's they all do that. They mentioned Pittsburgh is close, so they filmed this in my neck of the woods, this takes place in my neck of the woods in Pennsylvania.
They did a lot of Romero references, which is kind of funny because basically they took the element of Land of the Dead and they ran with it as a comedy, because this is definitely a comedy to me. Because, sorry, the concept in a dramatic sense is stupid. That zombies gravitate towards what they do in life, I'm sorry, I think it's stupid.
I think it's cool if you're trying to make a point in your movies. Like, I think
you're doing a comedy.
It was a little cheesy in Land of the Dead.
Yes.
I'll give you that. But it makes sense.
In a cheesy way, I think if you're trying to take it seriously, it's stupid.
Mm-hmm. I also don't think George Romero did that on purpose in Dawn of the Dead. That's where this kind of started. That's the whole they gravitate to the mall thing.
Hey, Iggy Pop was in Dawn of the Dead, wasn't he?
No, I think you're getting
dude
him.
who looked a lot like Iggy Pop.
Yeah.
All right, guys, welcome back. We had a short little aside where I was proving Corey wrong about something.
Whatever.
Because he thought I might be right. So therefore I was right in proving him wrong that I was right.
Sturgill Simpson, the guy who wrote and performed the theme song, has a cameo as a zombie. He's the one with the guitar.
Oh, they had that little sequence where they were talking about the dudes with the guitars.
Mm-hmm. I don't think I caught that.
Oh, it was in the gas station. It was the two brothers it was Danny Glover and Bobby were having the talk.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that.
Yeah. Anyway. Cool. So another singer.
This is all gonna end badly.
This is all gonna end badly. What's going on? Oh, what they were saying, yeah. Oh,
yeah, I just love that quote, and I love the way they work it in, and I can't talk about it, and it's driving me nuts.
I know exactly. Oh my gosh, there's so many great lines in this film. The conversation is so natural and fun, and the same with the other movie. So now that we've said everything we will tell you about The Dead Don't Die, sorry it wasn't a deep, hardcore behind-the-scenes analysis, but guys, you need to watch it, and it's just too new to spoil in all its beauty.
As is our next film.
What can you honestly spoil about the next film?
A lot.
Oh my gosh, it's showing the opening sequence right in the trailer, and it's beautiful.
1868, her third wedding. It looks so young.
Give my regards to that suicidally romantic scoundrel.
Well, let's hope he's just romantic.
You being so reclusive and everything is probably only going to make people more interested in your music.
Yeah.
What a shame.
What a drag.
Yeah. Dude got ran over by his own car. So weird.
Well, there was a recall issue, I think, with that feature.
Yeah, there was. Something to do with his e-brake or something. Or God.
He's just too young.
My sister's looking for us.
Shouldn't she be sleeping in a coffin somewhere?
I'm really, really hungry.
Could you smell it all the way from LA?
We're gonna have so much fun together.
We gotta go. Right now.
Another excellent trailer. It doesn't reveal too much.
Precisely.
Typo. Negativo.
I forget a secret in your soul.
I love the theme. Like that music right there.
Yeah. Gorgeous music. Both of them have great music.
How can you have lived for so long and still not get it? You've been pretty lucky in love, though, if I may say so.
I have what you need.
Not what I need.
That might be the most vampire moment in the whole movie when he does that.
Yeah. Well, and obviously the killing and all that stuff.
Well, yeah. I almost said Tilda Swinton plays Adam.
Oh, that would be interesting. You know what? She did it in Orlando, so.
So Tom Hiddleston plays Adam, who is a very bored vampire musician who's been alive for hundreds of years, and he's just over it. He's tired of the zombies, as they all call us, the living people, the human beings. And he's just sick of all of it. He's sick of our technology. He's sick of the grid.
He's a nihilist.
He is. He's very much a nihilist. He apparently hung out with Mary Shelley and Lord Byron back in the day, and they helped with his moroseness. Tilda Swinton, on the other hand, plays Eve, who is still absolutely in love with her immortality.
She enjoys
they're married
life.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. She still enjoys life. She still sees the beauty in it.
And she's very light, like her outfit, her hair and everything, and he's very dark.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if the fact that they all have dry, kind of frizzy hair, I wonder if he did that on purpose because dead people wouldn't secrete their natural oils anymore. I just had that thought while I was watching it. I'm sure that's an old thing. Yeah.
No, I think because rockers don't wash their hair and hippies don't wash their hair, so.
That's very true. John Hurt is another vampire in this. He plays, and I can give this away because they give it away right away. He plays Christopher Marlowe, who Shakespeare stole from.
And John Hurt, what a he was one of my favorite old school British performers. Like he was. Have you seen I, Claudius?
No.
He played a brilliant Caligula.
I can see that. Yeah, the older he got too, I know that's a little earlier in his career. The older he got, the more interesting stuff he was doing too.
Of course, he did some bad films towards the end. Like there was the Greek film I don't even remember the title of. He played Zeus, and that movie was terrible, but he was only in it for like 2 minutes.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Otherwise, great.
I actually can't find. Yeah, I was looking for something specific I can't remember the name of, but I can't find it now. God, he was in Hellboy. I forgot about that.
From the beginning, like the very opening to this film to the close, every shot, every scene, it's just so beautifully lush and stunning.
It's the entire movie feels like the movie I was thinking of was The Proposition, which is another great Western. Nick Cave wrote it, from Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, but that is neither here nor there. What the hell was I about to say? Oh, this whole movie is almost, if someone took the feelings you get listening to mellow psychedelic rock and made it into a movie, it would be this movie. Like every time I've seen this a bunch, and every time I've watched it, like after I've been done, I've just shut all my lights off, grabbed my good headphones, put music on, and just laid there staring at the ceiling, listening to like usually the Black Angels, who are also, they have a song in this movie as well. Who else is in this? Anton Yelchin plays Ian.
The late
Ian
Anton Yelchin.
Yes. I'm going to give a little bit away about his character because I wanted to ask you a question about him.
Okay.
Do you think that Ian was leaking Adam's music? Like, do you think Ian was taking his music and pressing records and selling it on the side? Did you get that from this movie?
I think it's possible he was doing that, but Adam wasn't hateful towards Ian. I don't think Adam cared one way or the other, because Ian kind of protected him too in keeping the fans away from his home and diverting.
Well, he looked a little bit irritated at Ian at the bar when he saw him giving that record to that guy, and I think that was because that record was his music.
It's possible, but he didn't hate Ian.
No, not at all. But he does say later on to Marlowe, at least the work got out there. So it was important to him And he actually says a really neat thing about this, but it was important to him that the work actually got out there. And he said the reason he wanted his new stuff, this is Adam I'm talking about now, the reason he wanted his new stuff to get out there was because he wanted to see if it echoed back. And I thought that was a really cool way to put it. Like, you're putting your music out there to see if it sort of pings back to you through other people, that kind of thing. I thought that was pretty neat.
Well, there's a moment, and I won't specify when in the film to avoid spoilers, where they're talking about a beautiful singer and how talented she is, and Eve asks whether he thinks she'll be famous, and he says something to the tune of, I hope not.
Yeah. Oh, that song too is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it reminded me of when I used to listen to belly dancing music in middle school. Mm-hmm. All the music in this movie is wonderful. The costumes are fantastic too, even.
Oh yeah, and the fact that they talk about how old their clothes are too, I thought that was cool.
Yeah,
like and all the guitars
for like 300 years.
Yeah. The guitar, and this is Jim Jaramusch, so those guitars are, I can almost guarantee you, they were exactly the guitars that they said they were in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And even the ugliest one that they were kind of making fun of in the beginning was still like such a beautiful old piece of gear. It was so nice.
Oh, there's this funny moment where the guy tells him his stethoscope is an antique.
Jeffrey Wright, which is why I mentioned him earlier instead of Stephen Wright.
Mm-hmm. I love Stephen Wright, though.
I do too.
Probably wouldn't be a right fit for that character, though. Your stethoscope is an antique.
My brain invented something, a part of the conversation between those two when he was buying blood. I swear at one point, like the last time you see Wright's character, he called him Dr. Acula, but I think I'm getting Scrubs confused with Only Lovers Left Alive.
He made some kind of joke about his name, but he didn't call him Dr.
He made
Acula.
A bunch. Yeah, he did it a bunch of times, and I think that's probably why I thought that.
Now,
so I should mention also that Mia Wasikowska is in this too. Mm-hmm. She was in Crimson Peak with Tom Hiddleston as well. She's the only person. She was fine. You know what I mean? She wasn't like.
She worked for the character, but she didn't stay with you.
Yeah. It wasn't a performance that mattered to me like everybody else in this.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I think the only reason that Yelchin's character mattered was because he's not alive anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, I think that if he was still alive, I wouldn't care about his character as much.
Well, yeah, but you got to say one thing about him. He was going somewhere because he was talented and he had a distinct voice that as he got older would have probably only become even more fascinating.
Oh yeah, I think so too.
Like he probably would have developed almost kind of like Tom Waits' growl. And that might have been why Jim Jaramusch cast him, because of his voice.
It could be.
Yeah, but we'll never know, unfortunately.
I couldn't get over how much he looked like the lead singer of Soundgarden too. Like from the 90s.
This movie sort of, the vampires in it kind of reminds me why I love vampires so much in film and in books. Not only because they are the most flexible mythology. You can apply any rules to a vampire character. It's the easiest monster to change and still know as a vampire, because the main thing that stands is that in some way it's a human too. But it's that you can do an entire movie that's based around conversation and it's still a vampire movie.
Yeah, that's true. Like, this is a very grounded sort of mythology too. You know, it was real believable, especially when they were talking about the blood poisoning and all that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's something else that comes up early on, so I don't feel like it's too big of a spoiler. Basically, like, we've polluted everything, including our own blood, and it was fatal to vampires in this world.
Well, that makes sense if you've ever watched, like, documentaries on plastic or Teflon. There's a disturbing documentary about Teflon. So, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. And that all works so well, having this movie set in DC too, or not DC, I'm sorry, Michigan, Detroit. Wherever, because America. Detroit right now is just dead. It's just this polluted, empty
Actually,
plays.
some people say it's coming back and things are changing. Certain places are being revived. So let's.
Oh yeah, I think oddly enough, I think we talked about this in another show that there's a really interesting art scene there now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People can change.
Tilda Swinton's character. Yeah. Tilda Swinton's character talks about how it's going to bloom again as well. I like that there was a little bit of hope.
I kind of think it's funny as that you know, the vampires who are not drinking from people, and that it is because the blood is generally poison and they take a risk, because it kind of removes the element of morals there, you know? Like, does he really, they don't drink the bagged blood because they feel bad about killing people.
Right, because it wasn't a moral choice for them. It was a choice. It was a survival. You know, they're predators. They're just apex predators. You know,
which is why he was more just really frustrated and irritated that they killed Ian and not, that she killed Ian and not.
Yeah, and he wasn't actually upset. You drank Ian.
I love that. Yeah, it's a great movie. Even the performances that didn't stand out weren't bad performances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said earlier, Jim Jaramusch can get great performances out of everyone, and you get really good performances in this. It's just that not everybody, like, if you're in a movie with John Hurt, Tilda Swinton, and Tom Hiddleston, and you're a good actor, they're gonna make you look bad. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, because they're amazing.
You know what's funny is the first time I saw Tom Hiddleston that I can recall was in the superhero movies, Thor. And I didn't get why everyone like was in love with him, because I had one coworker who was just like totally obsessed with him. You know, I was like, oh, he's a good actor and I guess he looks okay. But then I saw him in this and I was like, okay, I see the sexy now. All right.
Yeah. You've got to see like his real work. Not that I don't like, I love the superhero movies. I'm a Marvel fan.
Marvel.
But I think that you need to see stuff like this in Crimson Peak to really understand who he is, or that miniseries he did with Dr. House. What's his name?
Hugh Laurie.
Hugh Laurie. Yeah.
The best Hugh Laurie series on the planet is Blackadder. I'm sorry.
No, you're right.
See, I don't have much more to say about this movie because it's a very, very simple story.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything else about it other than like, if you have any interest in chill psychedelic rock or like old goth from the 80s, like old Christian Death and philosophy, yeah, stuff like that, like you'll love this movie. It's just got pieces of all this great dark stuff in it, and it just comes together and works perfectly. It's great.
Well, I guess if you want to check out our blog, you can find us at hallow-holic.blogspot.com or hallow-holic.wordpress.com.
And if you want to reach out into the Twitterverse and grab our attention.
Or reach out and touch face even.
Or that. Please don't touch my face. I don't like being touched. You can find us at Nowhere23 or by searching Hallow-Holics.
You can also email us at hallowholics@outlook.com.
The man that's about to dump hot coffee on my head and burn me with cigarettes wants me to, I know it's terrible. He wants me to tell you to go to Podpedia and look up our portal, HHA.
Also, some recent updates about Podpedia. If you are a podcaster, please try to get your own podcast on it. I've noticed that the community is kind of small and I'd like to see it grow.
Yeah, do that. I totally noticed that too.
Well, my coffee cup is empty, and this conversation with you tonight has been very awkward and uncomfortable.
It's totally fine. I gotta leave after this and go save a woman's life. She's given birth on the highway.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You didn't know I was a doctor?
No. I mean, I thought you were just a podcaster.
No, I'm a doctor too. A very talented one. I like to mix. I like to find the middle ground between podcasting and doctoring.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's cool.
I know. Thank you.
So if we meet up again next week, what movies do you want to talk about?
Didn't we decide this?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think we decided it last week and you put it somewhere.
Let's see.
Like in your It's not in the notes because that's Deathbed. We haven't used that page in quite some time.
Episode ideas. Oh yeah, we wanted to do evil pets.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Monkey shines and watch. Oh God. Well, right back to shit movies for us. Oh, I forgot. I wanted to make another point about Only Lovers Left Alive and how I see myself as a person. And you can just leave this here. You don't need to edit it back over. We'll just end awkwardly. So I want to see myself as like when I'm sitting here making my electronic music or like pretending I know anything on guitar. I like to sit here and pretend I'm Tom Hiddleston in this movie. But I know in reality I'm just a fat Anton Yelchin.
That's okay. I used
Thanks
to
for
pretend
listening.
I was Pippi Longstocking.
That's funny. She was the first girl I ever was really like, yeah, you're cool. Like she gave me the idea of like just doing whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. Like I was really attracted to Pippi Longstocking's free spirit back in the day.
Yeah,
I think
when you're a kid,
it probably
and you watch
wouldn't
it,
be me.
When you're a kid and you watch it, she's badass. She's the best. Watch it as an adult and you will be horrified at this evil child.
I can see that.
Like everything she does. I had a joke with one of my former podcasters, Jaslan, in that when the theme song started, Pippi Longstocking is coming into your town. We'd be like, oh my God, lock the doors, lock the doors. Good night, guys.
Thanks again. Dun 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 dun.
You love doing that, don't you?
It's just kind of my go-to when I do